You are now tuning in to the Going North podcast with your host, best-selling author and professional speaker and member of the John Maxwell team, Dominic Dom Brightman. And every Monday and Thursday, we're going to hear the voice of a different author sharing their gifts, stories, and expertise to help you charge forward in life. Now let's get on with the show. And today on the Going North podcast, we bring you some fabulous humans from across the globe who are doing amazing things. Today is no different. Because we got a powerhouse in the building today, baby. That's right. One of the great things about podcasts is that you get to connect with wonderful people from all over the world who are making waves, and they're not even surfers. This guy right here is amazing because not only is he a best-selling author, he is also known as the mentor for men in business. That's right, the men in business, baby, the M-I-B, not the B-I-B. And this wonderful guy right here has also a podcast host as well, has host a Superfan podcast with some awesome, amazing guests as well. And it's great to have him here today to share all of his goodies about being a man in business and leadership as well. So for those who haven't read the episode title yet, you probably know who I'm talking about. It's the one, the only Purdeep Sangha. How are you today, sir?
Hey, wow, Dom. Thanks. I appreciate the awesome intro. So I guess I'm gonna have to live up to that now.
Oh, don't worry. You're already living up to it. It's okay. You'll be good, man. Trust me.
Right on.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. But as with all introductions, they're not allowed to be 3 years long. So mind filling in some cavities where I missed some things in the introduction.
No, yeah, absolutely. So yeah, you mentioned my name, obviously, Purdeep Sangha. So yeah, I'm known as a mentor, and on two fronts. One is really help them grow their business, scale their business, and on the flip side, it's really helping them think, act, feel, and be like the man that they want to be in life. So whether that's as a business leader, a leader in their community, the husband that they want to be, the father that they want to be. So it's on two fronts, really, not only on the business itself, but them as individuals. So it's something I'm very passionate about because I see a lot of men struggling these days. And we are, as men, right, we're taught to be tough, not share our pain and not share our suffering. But there's a lot of guys out there that are suffering and not actually being able to get the help that they need. So that's pretty much why I do what I do. We've created this movement called #MenWhoWin, and it's about winning in life, right? So I can tell you're a big, you like to live up life. I can tell just by the way you laugh and how you are. And I think every man should be able to do that in terms of their business, win in the business, and win in their personal life. So that's pretty much what I do in a nutshell.
Oh, yeah, there we go. All the nutshells, baby. Walnuts and cashews. That's what I'm talking about, indeed. And that's awesome that you're doing that, man, because nowadays, we have a lot of men just going through depression, and it just stems from like different areas of life. Like some, they had a single parent, most likely the single mom, and she having to be Superwoman and Wonder Woman at the same time, being mom and a father figure, holding a job and raising the one child or 7 kids, and then not having that time, and then just certain areas where some men may have not had no real positive influence, and they grew up and got to certain parts of life where they've lost their confidence. So it's great that we got you doing that with that #MenWhoWin.
Yeah, it really is. I'm a total optimist in life, and I truly believe in looking at the positive side and the best out there. But I also see, as you mentioned, that things have changed a lot, especially when it comes to family units, technology as well, distracting people, distracting parents, distracting kids, and then we have really, I very openly say, some really crappy leadership in some key roles, especially for men out there that are supposed to be the role models for the next generation. So this for me is a really passionate piece because I see what's happening and I call it the perfect storm. And I think we really need to take a step back and say, okay, what's actually happening here? What do we need to do to actually move forward with this, because in the US alone, over 50% of children are being raised without full-time fathers. So that in itself, tells you a lot in terms of what's happening with the family units out there.
Oh yeah, you can say that again. We might as well give these smartphones and TVs some wigs or something, man, because they're raising the kids.
Yeah, it's a little scary.
Yeah, it's definitely scary indeed too. And you're definitely right. It's like with the lack of full-time fathers out there, because it's like if either they're not there or they work so darn much they don't have the energy left to give to their actual family.
Exactly. And I see how men struggle, because as a man, most men want to do everything that they can for their family. That's why they're working their butts off. That's why they're hustling their butts off, is to provide for their significant other and their children. So, but along with that, because I saw this myself, my father, he was an entrepreneur. He's an awesome father from that standpoint, but he also struggled from certain things. I just saw that he faced a lot of challenges as well, and the challenges with balancing business, a family, and just trying to get fulfillment out of life. And I think that's something that we miss out on a lot of these, especially in this day and age, is what are we living life for? It really is to be fulfilled, to live a happy and healthy and vibrant life. But we get caught up and we get trapped into that. Okay, you got to be, working your butt off to make X amount of money, and you got to have a certain status or a certain lifestyle, and then your entire life goes by, and you realize that, hey, look, you know what, I could have spent more time with my family or my kids or the people that I love.
Amen to that. And it looks like you found fulfillment for yourself in life. So what has really helped you to find fulfillment in life?
Wow, fulfillment for me is really what has helped me. I can say throughout my life, I've had really good mentors. That has helped me. That's really helped me in terms of the path and guidance. I've had some really crappy times in life in terms of going through certain experiences that have really taught me to appreciate things. For example, going to India and spending a month there and seeing some of the, we think we got it bad here. But when you're seeing a kid with no arms and no legs crawling around on his torso begging for food, just out of sheer survival, you realize that life ain't so bad, that you got it pretty darn good, right?
Amen.
So that for me is a big, big piece that keeps me fulfilled, as well as I spend time with my family outside of the work that I do. Most of my time is spent with my family. I have two young kids. I have a 6-year old and a 4-year old, and that's really what fulfills me today, is really knowing that the parenting that I'm doing is going to help shape their lives, and hopefully they're able to shape other people's lives and have that ripple effect. So that's what really drives me, is just that, having those relationships with people and being able to help people myself in the work that I do.
Ah, beautiful. And you mentioned mentorship. So, those who may not have a mentor in their life right now and they may be looking for one, heck, even yourself, what's helped you to find a good mentor?
Yeah, it doesn't have to be, these big guys out there with these massive followings, for example. It could just be someone in your community. For me, a big mentor of mine was my grandfather, for example. And then I also had some teachers. And that's why I say, you being a librarian, for example, is just, for me, that's awesome, because I look back in my school days and I say, wow, there's so many influential people there that had a big impact on my life. So the normal everyday, I know sports coaches, for example, just seek out people that have a good positive attitude, that have experienced life in some way, shape, or form, that can help you depending on your age. And then there's a ton of resources right now online. There's some really cool mentors out there that you can follow. There's people like Jack Canfield, Les Brown. Like, there's so many different kinds of, there's such a variety of mentorship that you can find. It doesn't have to be one-on-one, and you don't have to pay a ton of money for a mentor. There's so much in terms of resources out there. When I shifted that and said, I'm going to actively seek people, it was like doors started to open, things started to happen for me. So that's a big component for finding mentorship.
Ah, beautiful right there indeed. And I like that you mentioned that you don't have to spend a lot of money to find a mentor, because that's a lot of things going around nowadays with the coaching business being a multi-billion-dollar industry. And nothing against it, because we're both coaches here, but it's like
Hmm.
sometimes folks rush out and think they have to spend massive amounts of money for certain like folks, and I'm like yeah, for their time, it's like divine compensation, yeah, for some folks, but then it's not always that. You may not be at that level yet. Sometimes you may have to go local and see who's around you locally to help you out to actually get to an even better place than where you currently are.
Yeah, and here's a trick just for the listeners out there, because there's coaches out there, and I kind of classify myself in there. That I for my service I charge quite a bit, but here's what I also do. I also set aside a certain amount of time every week, and I know other coaches that do this, other mentors that do this, and strategists that do this, just pro bono, just to help people out. They might have a couple of calls with you, because that's truly what they want to do in life, right? And a lot of coaches really charge because they have to make a living, and that's their way of doing it, but they also have a soft side to say, I really want to help people. That's truly why they're doing it. So if you come up with a good story, for example, I'm talking about a legitimate story, but if you not like a made up one, but if you come up with a good story for yourself in terms of why you think this mentor can help you, and you actually share that with, I know a lot of mentors, myself included, that have helped people just basically without charging them. Now, it might not be a long-term situation. It might just be one call an hour or whatever that is, but I can bet you anything within that time period, you're going to get nuggets that will change your life. So reach out to people, just because, and don't, you might not want to take the first no. Maybe it's a couple of no's, but you still have to respect the person as well, and their wishes, but be proactive from that standpoint.
Amen to that. And there's still that respect aspect too. And that's really great that you mentioned that because a lot of folks hide behind social media and their computers so much nowadays that folks have forgotten that.
Hmm. Absolutely. Personal touch is so important these days, face to face. That's a big component. If we take a look at from a business perspective, there's still a ton of business happening face to face, locally within groups, for example. So as we move towards one trend or revolution, for example, when it comes to online marketing or digital marketing or the internet, it creates a gap on the other side. So for the personal interactions or personal touch, there's a big gap in there. And a prime example that I use is mail, for example, mail advertising. Because if you can actually do it effectively, you can actually stand out from the crowd, because everybody's trying to reach people digitally, or phone calls. Like, there's simple things that you can do. If you do it effectively, that's the right thing.
Oh yeah, that's definitely the right thing indeed, and not the left thing, because that's how you leave people behind. Let me stop.
Oh man, this is awesome. This is, I'm loving it.
Yes, indeed. And but it's really true though, because the personal touch is lacking nowadays, and heck, even like with me, heck, even guilty as charged from time to time. It's like, yeah, try to rely on social media for marketing and keeping folks informed, but a lot of folks they get tired of the social media, and it's actually draining from time to time because a lot of folks they may scroll through a lot of folks just curated feeds, and they'd be like, oh, this person has this Ferrari that they rented, but darn, it looks so good, and all this other stuff that makes it look like someone's on top of the world when really they may just be on their rock bottom moment, and they're just posting to make themselves feel good. And it's just really great to actually still keep that in mind, to keep the personal touch in mind. Just put the hand on the shoulder and be like, hey, you can do it. And then you hand them a bottle of Mountain Dew, and that'll really help them to realize that they can do it.
Absolutely. And then just from my personal experience and seeing, with the people that I work with in business and in personal life, the biggest thing that a person can do to move forward is really those personal connections. Because it doesn't matter if you're a great online marketer, for example, you just do stuff online. People still will buy from you based on who you are, or what your business is about, because they could just, I'll just use an example. They might see something really cool online, they might buy it, but if there's no personal touch, there's no personal interaction after that, they're not going to continue to buy. And that's the true secret to success, is really those personal relationships, not only with the people around you, because that's been proven to show an increase in health, an increase in happiness, a decrease in stress, but also in business relationships as well. That will get you that many more sales, that will get you that many more repeat buyers and that many more referrals. So personal connection is absolutely critical for all aspects of life.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's right. You got to keep giving them that attention. That's right. That's right. Attention for attention.
Exactly. You give and you shall receive.
Oh yeah, that's the more eloquent way of putting it right there. Yes, indeed. I just realized AFA, attention for attention. All right, yeah, there we go. That's going on a T-shirt somewhere eventually. Maybe put like an eagle on the back of the T-shirt with like a fitted cap and maybe an eye patch.
I like that. I like that. I'll take one right now.
That's right. The Purdeep T-shirts, the eye patch eagle, coming to a local Shopify store near you. The drop shipping will work, trust me. Thomas.
Yeah. Oh, this is awesome.
Oh man, indeed. Woo. Well, through the power of mentors, you also became an author, man. So what inspired you to write your book, man?
Oh, well, it was just literally I just had a bunch of stuff in my head and I just wanted to throw it on paper and give it to people. I didn't write a book to make money or do promote it or anything from that standpoint. I really said, here's one of the biggest things that people miss out on from a business standpoint. And I just wanted to help people. So I wrote the book because we have all these flashy things in today's day and age, but it's really the core fundamentals that really help people move forward, whether that's in business or in life, that we forget to do, like the 101s. So I basically put the core fundamentals of really having a long-term successful business into a book. And honestly, it was fun. It just took me back to when I was a kid. I used to or enjoy writing short stories. And I just said, why not? I've always wanted to write a book. Might as well do it now.
Oh, shoot. Amen to that indeed. Amen to that indeed. So, for those who may be looking to write a book of their own and put their wisdom inside some pages and join the business of immortality like you did, what would be your best advice to them?
Well, I would say, just find something that you're really excited about. That's the most important thing, because it can be a process. It definitely is a process, and it can be frustrating at times, but just put your thoughts down, have a framework in mind. Keep your first book, if you haven't written a book before, keep your first book simple. The thought out there is the first book should be under 160 pages, for example, because you're just getting into it. You're just dipping your feet into it. So try it out once. If you enjoy it, you can write another book after that. But have a framework, have something very simple in terms of start high level, break it down in terms of what your overall thought is, what your message is, and then just break it down into certain chapters. You can have 15 chapters in a book, or you can have 10 chapters, but then you write down the basically the headings of your chapters, and then you go down and say, what are the few key points that I want to put within each chapter? It's a simple system to write your first book, and it'll actually get you through a lot easier rather than trying to start writing, because that's kind of tough in itself. You have to have some kind of framework.
Yeah, definitely right about that. Got to have some framework. I mean, it's kind of like a body, the human body without the actual skeleton.
Yeah, exactly.
We would all be Jabba the Hutt.
Yeah. Oh.
That's a nice visual, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. It's like right in front of my face right now.
It's like, yeah, all of us are being Huts, Jabba the Hutt,
Yeah.
just floating towards each other like, hey, how's it going, buddy? Oh, man. Oh, man. Well, speaking of magical framework, you made sure that the book wasn't the be all end all. You actually turned the book into a podcast. So, what inspired you to join the magical wave and get 80 plus episodes deep?
Oh yeah, I just love podcasting. It's fun. So I started a podcast literally to have fun, just kind of like what I did with the book. So I just said, okay, I have some thoughts, I have some opinions, I have experiences. I have some insight. I just want to share and see what happens. And it kind of just took off from there. So that's basically what it was. That podcast has actually morphed quite a bit. We started off with the business concept from superfans, and it's actually transformed over into helping men specifically, and it's for men who win. And so there's a lot of here's what I'm seeing in terms of why I continue to do the podcast right now, Dom, is just the lack of leadership for men and helping them, because that is my mission. And so this podcast is all about that. We talk about things that are going through the mind of a typical guy, but the things they don't like to talk about. So the struggles, the good things, the bad things, the ugly things. And so it becomes a fun conversation.
That's right, a fun on the bun conversation indeed. So as with all life, we all have those moments where we didn't win. So what's one of those moments in life where you wasn't able to have that victory, but you're able to turn it around to become one of the men who win?
Well, I would say one of the turning points for my life was when I was going through school. So my parents are immigrants. They immigrated from India, and they came here with pretty much next to nothing. And so they worked their butts off for us. And their big thing was to because I still have the orchard, my brother and I, so we grow apples and cherries. And so they worked labor jobs. So they were working their butts off, sometimes 7 days a week, sometimes 12 hours a day, longer, 15, 16 throughout the summer, for example. And so they basically said to us, we don't want you guys to suffer, my brother and I, we don't want you to suffer like we did. So we want you to get an education. So their whole thing was when you're in a first generation Indian kid, your three chosen paths: you're an engineer, you're a lawyer, or you're a doctor, right? So I went through the first part of my schooling was in biochemistry, and I went through thinking that I was going to be a doctor, and I never followed through with that. So for a long time, I actually switched over to business and went down a different academic path. But I kind of felt like I left let my parents down, and for a while they actually kind of felt like I did let them down from that standpoint. And that for me is a big standpoint, because I had these big aspirations and these big dreams to be a doctor that just never panned out for me. But I can say that I'm totally happy because I followed a different path, which has led me to what I'm doing today.
Amen to that indeed. Glad you're able to at least find your passion and not just go the typical route.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it is rough though, because it's like, yeah, parents they have a lot of faith in you. It's like, yeah, I want you to be a doctor, buddy, or an engineer. Like, all right, go to that doctor path, put on that lab coat, buddy. Like,
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah, exactly. And when you see your parents working their butts off for you, and that's pretty much why they're doing everything that they're doing, you feel like you have an obligation to your parents, right? And so that's one of the things I kind of truly felt like I'd let them down after they spent their entire, you know, their 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 younger years working for us to put us through education. So it can become tough, but you know what? As just like any man or any woman, you got to stand out on your own. You got to do your own thing in life.
yeah, you're definitely right about that. And are they still alive today? And you're able to at least show them that you're able to create this version of success to at least show them that their hard work wasn't in vain.
Yeah, my mother is still around. My dad passed away actually last year. That's another reason why I've made even a stronger push in the work that I do. My dad was 64 and a half. His goal was to hit 65 and retire. That was his milestone. And his whole purpose, like, he raised us right. He worked his butt off for us. He was also successful as well. He suffered from alcoholism, so he had the challenges that came along with it as well. But his goal was to hit 65, because that was the point when he was going to say, hey, look, I did it. I raised a happy family, a successful family. I worked my butt off. I built this life for us. Now I can just kind of enjoy life. But he never got to that point. He passed suddenly from a heart attack. And that's what drives me, because I see a lot of people living their lives like that. I see a lot of guys living their life trying to hit a certain milestone, and they don't hit it. And so when they can spend more time enjoying their life today. And I think that's the biggest thing when it comes to mentorship. That's the biggest lesson I learned is, hey, look, I can work my butt off and learn these things and do different things and learn from experience. And you absolutely should do that. But it's a lot easier to hit a goal, to hit a target, to hit whatever it is you're looking for, to overcome a challenge or a problem when you have someone alongside you, a mentor or a coach or a strategist, whatever that might look like. So that for me, because I look back and I look at my dad's life and I say, how would the big one of the biggest reasons why my dad passed away from a sudden heart attack was because of the alcoholism. And so I look back and I say, you know what would have my dad's life have been like had he had a coach, had he had a mentor in his life? Because it probably would have been different. So that's what drives me today.
Yeah, sorry to hear about that. That's always rough right there, especially since he didn't reach 65 like he hoped he would.
Yeah, that's the biggest part. Everybody passes, everybody leaves this world. It's just that, I wish you would have gotten that chance to really say, okay, I did it.
Yeah, yeah, definitely, definitely indeed. But it's good that he still inspired you in another way. It's now you have new, another new powerful story to share with others and help men realize like, hey, you can do it and there's more to it than just reaching this massive milestone and possibly not hitting it. Because actually, funny enough, my father, he also was an alcoholic at certain times in life, and this is before he got into his 70s and 80s, and it's all because he didn't feel like he was important because he basically dropped out of high school and worked a lot to eventually buy a Harley Davidson motorcycle. And as soon as he got enough money to get the motorcycle, he was drafted for war, World War II. So
Oh, wow.
yeah, and he never went back to school to get his degree, and he had some depression because of that. So it's definitely real out there.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Wow.
But on a more positive note about the men who win. And speaking of wins, is there a big win that you're planning to unleash on the world, like a new program for folks to cop? Because I know you recently had a webinar a couple days ago.
Yep. Yeah, yeah. No, I definitely am. So well, I'm kind of always releasing stuff, but I'm excited about this new program that I'm working on. It's really helping people, helping other coaches, for example, other people within the field, other mentors, really create authority in their field. So that's really what it's about, because people have to understand, people don't, as people believe that it's a product or service that people buy. It's actually the authority that comes along with it. And
Mhm.
so that is really what I'm showing coaches how to do in their field, in their work, or mentors how to do, is really become the authority. So they don't ultimately have to sell. It's really about having people want to buy their products and services, because as a coach, no one wants to sell, right? They're there to help people. They're not there. They want to make money. Obviously, they have to make a living and make a profitable business. So don't get me wrong. It's not that they don't want to make a money, but they have a true desire to help people. So sales isn't what they're passionate about. So I'm showing them how to actually get people so excited to a point where they just come to you and want to buy your products and services.
That's powerful right there. They want to buy from the authority. That's new right there. All right, that is new.
Well,
Um,
especially in this day and age, that's the challenge, right? Because you talked about it. Anybody can go on social media these days and do stuff and present a certain way, but unless you're actually walking the talk, that's a completely different thing.
yeah, it's a different thing indeed, and we need more folks who to actually walk that talk because it, and that's probably another reason why I feel like vulnerability is a buzzword because a lot of folks have been faking stuff for years and still faking it, and folks are just tired of hearing about it. They just want to hear something that's real, or at least real enough that they can resonate with.
Yeah, exactly. Again, it goes to that connection, right? People are looking for hope, but they also want genuine hope, and they want truly. What it comes down to is they want someone that is truly vested in them. That's what they're looking for. They're looking for someone who truly cares about them, not just the dollar. And that's the most important thing.
Ah, beautiful. Genuine hope. I love that. Oh, that is awesome right there. Genuine hope. That is true, man. That's another T-shirt idea. That's right. That's right. The genuine hope dealer. That's
I think
right.
I think we're gonna have to change businesses here and start making some T-shirts.
That's right. That's right indeed. And then pull out some green tea and be like, yeah, we're really in the T-shirt business.
It's a good combo. I like that.
That's right. Some green tea, some black tea on a green and black T-shirt. Be like, yeah, it'll be tea-rific. Oh man. Yes, indeed. Well, look, enough of my corn. Well, actually, no, it's probably still coming. But if who am I kidding? I got a whole farm of corny jokes.
Oh, I love it.
Well, the question I like to ask every guest, and that is if you're to wake up tomorrow and you are 25 again in the current year of 2019, but with all of your amassed knowledge and experience, what would be the advice that you would give to yourself?
What would be the advice that I would give to myself? Wow, that's a good question. When I look, I would, one thing I would say is spend more time with the people that I love. That's a big thing for me right now because my father's passed. 3 months later, or 4 months later, my father's younger brother passed suddenly from a heart attack in his sleep. And
Mm.
so, my grandfather's gone, and there's key people in our lives that are gone, both men and women. And I look and I say, wow, like there's so much family history that we've had, and there's very few people to tell it now. And I don't know as much as I should have known. And I wish I just would have asked my father or my uncle or my grandfather more about our family history or about things in life, experiences in life that they've had, because everybody has a wealth of wisdom. And so that for me is one thing I would say is at 25, I would have probably spent more time with just the people around me and just gathered that knowledge, gathered that insight, and just spent more genuine time with them. Because again, we just don't know when that moment comes, when our time is called and we're gone, we're out of here.
Oh, yeah, bringing the gold. Got genuine hope and genuine time. That's right. Very solid, powerful advice indeed. Rock solid. Heck, maybe even boulder solid. That's what that is. Yep, and that's something we all need to hear. Some like spend more time with the folks you love. Learn
Yeah.
something. Like,
Well, it's important. I think people need to realize because with all the advances that's happening in life and technology and all these things that are happening, this is my personal experience. There's great things happening around the world, especially in third world countries with technology. But in my personal, when I'm talking about North America, I don't see people getting any happier. I don't see people living any better lives these days. Some people are, a majority doesn't seem like it. So for me, helping people live a happy lifestyle is very important. And there's three things that have been shown, proven, to help people be happier in life. One is relationships, the quality of relationships that you have in life, right? So enjoy that, respect that, appreciate it, nurture it, because that is what's going to make you happy. Another one is nature, is the beauty of Mother Nature out there, because that has been shown to help you increase not only you can say the endorphins in your body. I'm talking about the neuroscience behind it, but really it helps you be happier in life. So spend more time in nature. And the other one is what is can be a mix of spirituality or faith or whatever it may be that you believe in, but believing in a higher purpose or a higher being or higher energy or higher force that goes beyond who we are as flesh and bones is another thing that helps people live a happier life. So those are three things that anybody can do to live a better quality life.
amen to that. Amen to that indeed. That's right, folks. Got to put down the zombie apocalypse device and all the other technology. Go out and see some nature. Hug a tree. Tell the tree you love it. Yes, indeed. Heck, if you don't want to hug the tree, you can do some yoga next to a tree. Do the warrior pose next to the tree.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, for those who want to keep in magical contact with you and all that you're doing, what's the best way for folks to reach out to you, Pradeep?
Yeah, so you feel free to listen to my podcast. You can go to malepodcast.com. That's MALE podcast.com, or any social media channel. You can pretty much, except for Twitter, I'm not really on there, and YouTube, but Instagram, LinkedIn, and Facebook at Purdeep Sangha, or you could also go to my website, which is purdeepsangha.com.
Woohoo! Well, there you have it, folks. Go on ahead, check out Purdeep's podcast, baby. Head over to his site, snag a copy of his book, Superfans. Heck, even go to Amazon, buy a copy of the book, boost up the rankings for the book.
Appreciate that, my friend.
Oh, yeah, because yours truly is doing that after this interview is over. Indeed. Definitely a super fan. That's right. We're going to need those in the summer, too, especially. Or actually just plain period when there's hot weather.
Well, you know, it's funny. When I went to go buy that domain, it's funny you mentioned that, because guess who actually had the domain? It was a fan company. I was like, oh, darn. I was like, oh, there it goes. I was like, darn it.
Yeah. Like, yeah, we knew you were coming for this domain.
Yeah.
You ain't having it.
Like, they just messed me all up. I was like, damn it.
Oh, man. But it's all good, though. I just hope that fan is an actual super one. I hope it actually
Yeah.
keeps people cool. Hopefully cooler than 7 cucumbers. Woo. Well, any parting words for our wonderful listeners, Purdeep?
You got one life to live in this form. You might believe in, reincarnation or, in different forms of life. But, as the person you are in this lifetime, you got one chance at this. So live it to the fullest. That's what every person is meant to do. Every person has that right to be healthy, living a happy life, and have all the cool things that you want in life, whether that's money, whether that's freedom, a nice house, a nice car, whatever that is, you deserve to have it.
Hey there, you superstar. Thanks a bunch for making it this far in the podcast. Hope you really enjoyed it. Heck, if you made it this far, that means you really enjoyed it. Be sure to shoot the guest an email or head over to the social media pages and leave them a nice response that you heard them on the Going North podcast, so that way they can continue to be inspired to do great things. And be sure to share this podcast with others that you think would enjoy it as well, because we want to inspire as many people as possible to live their dreams, embrace them, and to do something positive.